Ladies and gentlemen, with a new game mode around the corner as promised by the devs in the next update, I thought what better time than to do and rank the top 10 game modes by reworks and how badly they need them. Now, this video was submitted by the Patreons, voted on by the Patreons, so if you want to get in on that action, head on over to patreon.com/Cynicalex. Now, I have to say, before we get this started, and of course, there will be a link down below in the description so that you can vote on this too, because this is live, right? We got 7 days to vote on this. I want to get your opinions. But what I want to say at the onset is it was really hard. There's more than 10 game modes in the game, and it was very hard to narrow it down to the 10 that I felt were sort of the most necessary. So you may disagree with my list entirely, because not exactly entirely, but you could have like 3, 4, or 5 game modes that I missed. For example, I really wanted to put, spoiler alert, I really wanted to put a world event on here. The world event's not on here. I really wanted to put story mode on here. Story mode's not on here. So yeah, there may be some disagreement, of course, in the community from that regard. But with that being said, let's start it off. Let's kick it off here with Otherworld Battle. Now, my rankings here, pretty straightforward. The ones that rank at the top in sort of like the red and orange category, these are the game modes that are beep, they're on life support. Okay, they're close to dying, if potentially dead. We'll talk about that soon because we can see the evidence in game about it. But I'm sure the devs are acutely aware of this when they look at game metrics. So yeah, the ones that are ranked at the top are the ones that need reworks badly, the most urgent reworks. So those are the ASAP ones because they're dying. And then you have the soon, which is like you should do it soon, but you have a little bit of time. The game mode's not, dying yet. Then it's like, hey, can you do it this year? And then can you, when can you do it? And then probably never. Now, I'm going to try not to put anything in the never category, because then why would I be on this list? But I just wanted to include that there in case, you come across a game mode that you're like, you know what? I really like this game mode as is. Like, for example, there was no way I was going to put ABX or ABL in this top 10. Now, you could make the argument that ABX or ABL could use more different days, right, to rotate around, or maybe even different abilities, right? Like maybe they change out the snare and the shock and the fraction, and they change it to something else, right? You could certainly argue that, but it's outside of the top 10, right? The game itself is fun. The meta itself is fresh and changes frequently enough, and the rewards are very good. Some of the best rewards in the game. So, yeah, I don't think it's within the top 10. Otherworld Battle, I would say certainly needs to be reworked. Now, in my opinion, I would say it needs to be reworked this year or when. Like, I don't think it's urgent, like soon, and I certainly don't think it's dying. Like, I think this game mode is still pretty chill. I think players still enjoy it. I think it's got more opportunities for synergies, and there is more, outside meta usage because they at least debuff Jean and Adam and Wolverine and Spider-Man often enough. Now, you still get that dead week, right, at the beginning of every new season where they just decide not to debuff anybody. I really would want them to remove that and just start with the debuffs right away. Or, as I made an entire video about, they should move to a cost-based system where every character gets a cost assigned to them, and each week you have a certain amount of points that you can use for your team. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower, and then you have to construct a team based on their costs without exceeding your limit. And that would essentially force players to think outside the box and not constantly construct teams that are just the best 3 metas or the best 5 metas. It's very tiring to just see the same sloppy copy and paste over and over again. But then again, you can't blame players because the devs are letting you do that, right? So the devs need to be more restrictive. They need to push the players to be more creative, and they need to not be so scared to do that. I feel like the devs are still very scared to sort of push the players to be creative. So yeah, I'm gonna rank that this year. But yeah, agree with me, or disagree with me in the comments. Dispatch mode here. This is probably one of the few game modes that I was sort of iffy about including, but I will include it because I was really disappointed. Was it last year or 2 years ago when they included Chapter 13 and it was just more Tier 3 materials? I was really disappointed with that. It was after Tier 4 materials were introduced. Maybe not a lot long after, but it was after. And I think it was just a big miss. If anything, they could have put like just a mega gold drop on Chapter 13 instead of Tier 3 materials. But like, we definitely didn't need more Tier 3 materials. Nobody except the ultra simps and the ultra casuals were like, yay, more Tier 3 materials. Most players were like, this is just stupid. Like, You have 2 other sectors that give you tier 3 materials. It was quite stupid. So I do think they need to come up with a new chapter 14 or whatever, 15, with Soul of the Faltine and Carbonadium and Life Seed. However, when they do that, I mean, this year would be nice for sure. I'm sort of torn between this year and when. I don't think it's as urgent as Otherworld Battle, so I will put it in the when category. I do think they need to address it at some point, but I don't think it's urgent. Legendary Battle here, I don't know. Maybe I have just the wrong opinion about this game mode, but I feel like a lot of effort gets put into it whenever they make a new Legendary Battle, and then it just players completely forget about it after a week. And that just happens over and over and over again. And it's a shame. It's a real shame, because artistically, this is some of the best content in the game. Creatively, this is some of the best content in the game. And it's really disheartening to see devs, you know, to see the management basically say, you know what, we're gonna want you guys, the devs, you're gonna create something, you know, you've never created before. Create something brand new, create something fun, exciting, fresh, and then we're just gonna create, you know, we're gonna put that into a place where the players are never gonna want to go after the first time they go there. It's like, what? What did you say? That's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life, you know? So, yeah. It's like putting the world's greatest restaurant in the middle of nowhere so that people have to drive out to the middle of nowhere to get the food, and then they're never going to go back again because it was delicious, but they don't want to drive all the way out there again. Probably the best analogy I can come up with. Anyways, as far as how you can fix Legendary Battle, there's a whole host of things you can do, but essentially, they just need to improve the rewards and create some sort of system that entices players to go back and play it again, right? Just some sort of like rotating rewards, you know, Legendary Battle of the Week type thing. So I'm going to say never. I don't think they're ever going to rework this game mode, but personally, I want them to. So yeah, it's kind of a weird one. Shadowland. This one, I think, is a bit more serious than certainly than Legendary Battle. I'm going to put this in the when category. Essentially, they didn't rework Shadowland enough. So we need something more. We need a way to skip more stages if we have a built roster, or we need a way to sort of like, you know, hypercharge. We need like a Shadowland God mode or some shit like that, because grinding every week in Shadowland with these mindless characters is just really boring. It's not fun, and they really need to, you know, think of a way to sort of like, you need to be able to get to the good stuff faster. You know, like if Shadowland was just 10 stages, for example, and I had to use my tier 4s and I had to like think, and I could only use one on each stage, I would be much more engaged, right? But right now, it's just something that I do while I'm scratching my balls or while I'm playing a more fun game. And that's not what you, like, that's not the kind of game modes you want, right? So, yeah, I feel like they need to think about that. World Boss. This is an interesting one. Probably one of the best game modes in MFF. But I do think a big thing that needs to be addressed at some point is the World Boss ultimates. They all need to be buffed. They need to take Thanos and the Black Order and all those clowns, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Apocalypse, Cable, and they need to push them up to like a pseudo-legendary, right? They need to, you know, and maybe you only unlock that once you beat Kang Stage 9 or something like that, right? Once you beat Kang Stage 9, then you can choose to upgrade all of the other World Boss Ultimates to World Boss Legend. I understand why they need to be easier than World Boss Legend at first, because you need to use them to unlock Null. I totally get that. But for players who are far past that point, the existence of the World Boss Ultimates now is just a money pit. It's just going to drain your gold as you're refreshing, re-rolling for World Boss of the Day. That's literally all it is. And that's sort of bullshit. And again, to the point of not wasting content that people worked hard on, right? Devs worked hard on these World Boss Ultimates. Why not use them? Why not make them useful to the majority of the player base? Because right now, as soon as a player unlocks Null, every other player, every other piece of advice in the game says, hey, don't play any other boss. Just play Null all the time. And if you get bored of him, unlock Mephisto and play him. And then if you get bored of those two, you can go on to Ultron and so on and so forth. But never play Thanos again. Never play Proxima again. Some people will say, you know, oh, but you get more books. Trust me, you get more books, Alex. I have a tried and true method. Or they'll say, you know, oh, but the Odin's blessings. Let's be real here. Let's be real. Would you rather have Odin's blessings than tier 4 materials? No, you wouldn't. Would you rather have Odin's tier 4 materials or books? You'd rather have tier 4 materials. Like, let's just be honest, right? Because guess what? After you tier 3 the character, you're going to have to tier 4 the character. That's where the real value is, especially now that they're releasing tier 4 game modes. So I feel like this is just, you know, this is something that they do need to do at some point, in some way. Giant boss raid. I think it's a really good game mode. I think that they need to buff the solo rewards a little bit, just to give players a little bit more of an option to play solo. Maybe they did that recently with a 20% thing. I haven't tested that out personally. I could be wrong. But I also think they need to come up with a new boss. It doesn't have to be harder than Dormammu. It can be about the same difficult. I mean, it should be harder than Dormammu, but like even if he gives the same rewards as Dormammu, holy shit, like it just gets boring, right? Because you're asking us to play the same boss every day. So why not make Master Mold as powerful as Dormammu, right? Just boost Master Mold so that he has the same stats as Dormammu and the same buffs and the same debuffs, so he removes your pierce, whatever. And then just buff Galactus the same, and then now, hey, wow, I can play Master Mold when I want. But again, it's idea of this like wasted content, you know? Again, I understand that new players got to come in and they got to struggle through Master Mold and Galactus before they get to Dormammu, so they can just have a slider, right? They can have like a regular mode and then an ultimate mode, and then you just flip-flop, right? And then everybody who's new is on the regular mode for Master Mold, whatever, and then everybody else who has Pierce and has a roster already can go ultimate mode, but then they can go back and fight those bosses. It's just a waste to have these bosses in the game that are nothing but stepping stones. They're nothing but stepping stones. So yeah, it needs to be addressed. But anyways, yeah. Heroic Quest, it needs to be deleted. This game mode is dead. I'll put this. I mean, the thing with this game mode is it doesn't need to be updated, right? It doesn't need to be. It needs to be reworked in the sense of they need to just put it outside and shoot it. This game mode sucks. I know it gives pretty good rewards. I know it's very easy to do and whatever. Like some people are gonna really get on my case about this, but I feel like it overcomplicates the game. And it was a sort of lazy attempt by the devs to get more crystals out of players for characters, and they basically just gave up on it. They released Wave and they released White Fox, and then they were like, okay, we're done. We're out of here. And it's so stupid. And the whole game mode just looks so stupid. It's like it's got no theme, even though it's the defenders plus these two random characters who have nothing to do with the defenders, right? It's so weird. It's a completely dead game mode. As far as, you know, they haven't updated it in years. The rewards haven't, like, it's not that the existing rewards are bad. They're good, and you have the 600 crystal box that you can buy for like $3 or whatever. But it's just like, there's no, it's a dead end game mode. It's not a dead game mode, it's a dead end game mode. So I think they need to just kill it off, make those characters easier to get, and then they can make a new game mode without feeling like there's too much bloat in the game. Oh, okay, now we get to the big ones. They saved all the big ones for the end here. Holy shit. Alliance Conquest. This game mode is literally on life support. So I could make a whole video about this, but basically no one is playing Alliance Conquest. And the reason for that is basically there's no competition. So if you go into the game, I'm not going to show it on screen right now, but if you go into the game and you go to Alliance Conquest and you see the rankings, there's always the same 3 alliances at the top. And they are the same 2 or 3 alliances, these Axis alliances. And they're basically a group of players. And they've decided that they're just going to monopolize the top 3 spots. Now, whatever. You can agree with them, disagree with them. I think it's super cringe, but whatever. The point is, no one is playing. Because if you try to climb into the top 5, what's going to happen? You're going to get paired against 2 Axis teams. And they're playing together even though they're different alliances. This is why 6 years ago or 7 years ago or 8 years ago when they released Conquest, everyone was like, wow, 1v1v1 is a really stupid idea because you can have 2 alliances gang up on a 3rd alliance. Well, this is the logical conclusion here. They're, you know, monopolizing the top 2 or the top 3 ranks, and they just bully the hell out of it. And you literally, it's impossible, right? Even if you have the 40 big, the alliance that I'm in, for example, Nemesis, one of the biggest whale alliances in the game, period. Avengers and Nemesis are 2 of the biggest, probably the 2 biggest whale alliances overall in terms of spending. Neither one of those alliances can beat 2 other alliances like Axis, even if they're not as big whales, because there's just too many characters, right? You're saying 40 players versus 80 players, right? It's just impossible odds, impossible to win. And so they just monopolize that shit, and it's boring as hell. And so this is basically how Conquest works. The top 2 or 3 spots for rankings are completely locked. and they're never going to change. And then rank 4 to rank like 7 or 8 are like competitive with each other, but not really. And then after that, it's just like a shit show. From like 10 down, it's just a shit show. Just garbage alliances, you know. I mean, there are some up and coming alliances that try, but then they basically, here's their experience. Okay, here's an up and coming alliances experience in Conquest. They plow through the rankings at first. They're just dominating every team. They're just chop, 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 like sushi. They're just making sushi, and then they get into like the top 20 or maybe the top 15, and then they get slapped down by some like mega giga whale alliance like Nemesis or whatever, and then they don't play Alliance Conquest anymore. That's it. They're done. It's such a soul-crushing experience, and I've spoken to people who play Conquest because it's either way too easy, the difficulty, or it's way too hard, and there's nothing in between. And this is completely the fault of the devs. This is completely their fault. This is one of the most neglected game modes ever. Literally one of the most neglected game modes ever, and it's a shame because it could have been a really good game mode. And I don't want to say it could be, because at this point I've kind of given up on Conquest, and like, be honest, the devs have, right? This shit needs a complete overhaul, a complete makeover. This needs to go to the best LA cosmetic surgeon and just do the full thing. Tits, ass, legs, you know, the make your legs longer for the, you know, for the dudes, dick implants. It needs the whole, it needs everything, bro. You need to go to LA, then you need to go to Brazil, then you need to finish it off in Korea and just get all the surgeries, bro. That's what this game mode needs, but it's probably not going to get. Anyways, ASAP dying. Alliance Tournament. This one's kind of weird. I think this is also a dying game mode. I'm not going to harp for like so long on it, but basically it's the same sort of thing. It's the same sort of thing as Conquest, where there's just not enough competition. So it's like 2 or 3 alliances have a serious shot of winning the tournament every single week, and it's Nemesis and Avengers and like one other, and then everyone else is just fodder. The other 14 alliances or 13 alliances are just lambs to the slaughter. And I'm not, no offense to them, right? Like no diss, but it's just not possible, right? Unless they just were to have like a sudden injection of money to become like giga whales. There's just no competition. There's not enough players that are throwing cash around like this to compete. And it's a stupid, frankly, it's a stupid system. Right? Why are you making players build for PvE and rank high in a PvE game mode in order to have access to a weekly PvP game mode? I mean, we know why. It's so that they can milk players for more money, but it's stupid, right? The Alliance Tournament should be a PvP thing, and so you should get there based on your PvP accolades, not based on your PvE accolades. Also, it shouldn't be restricted to the top 16 alliances. It's just a stupid-ass system. This is never going to be fixed, but it should have been fixed a long time ago. Timeline battle. Okay, I think this is the last game mode. Yeah, this is the last game mode. This game mode is legitimately on life support. You can we used to gauge how many players were in the game by the timeline battle win rates, because what players would do, they would wait a few days and then they would play one time. They would play one time in timeline and win. And then they would see where their rank was in the different category, like in the different leagues, in Vibranium, in Platinum, whatever. And then that tells you how many players there are. Because if you're right at the bottom, it'll say you're like rank 5,000. So you know there's about 5,000 active players in Vibranium, right? And then you do the same thing for the other game modes, for the other leagues, right? From bronze, silver, gold, and then you can get an idea of how many players are in the game. It is a ghost town. It is a literal ghost town. It's dead. It's dead. It's dead. They need, again, it needs to have a massive, it needs to go to LA for the nose job. It needs to go to Brazil for the BBL, and then it needs to go to Korea for, you know, for the eyelids or whatever. It genuinely, I'm not gonna sit here explaining all of the shit that's wrong with timeline battle. They just need to make it better. They know how to make it better. They've made it better. They've made PvP good in other games like 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross. Just copy their fucking ideas. It's that simple. It's within the same company. Stop being so full of yourself. Throw your hubris and your pride, you know, put it aside. It's doing nothing but harm for this game. And just embrace good ideas, man. They're within your own company. We're not even asking you to copy and paste your competitors. It's literally your colleagues. It's people that work in the same damn company as you. Just copy them, bro. It clearly works. But they probably won't, let's be honest. Anyways, that shit is dead, basically. So yeah, that's how my list looks. This is probably a little bit more depressing than I wanted it to be, but I also think it's kind of more realistic, unfortunately. But yeah, I would love to hear from you guys what you think and what your top 10 looks like. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Smash the like button, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.